Hello, viewers, and welcome to Radio Dwarka. We all have heard about a change introduced by our finance minister in the budget this year, which is about the PF contribution above 2.5 lakhs, the interest component of which will be taxed in future. So this is a big change for people earning and making their contribution as part of their EPF or their voluntary provident fund deposits. So so today we have with us Ashwin Duggal from Nippon India Mutual Fund. He is the co-chief business head, and we will understand from him what does this change mean to the industry as a whole, and what can the investors really look at it. So welcome Ashwin to our channel, and it's a pleasure to have you on with us.
Yeah, thanks, Ruchi. Thanks for inviting me for this discussion.
Ashwin, I'm just going to get into the right questions directly. And I would want to know that, this change of the 2.5 lakhs, as we all know, the contributions made by employees, either as part of their normal EPF deductions or as VPF or the voluntary provident fund above 2.5 lakhs is proposed to be taxed, which means that people invest, having a salary of more than roughly a 40 lakhs is what come within the bracket. So
Correct.
what is your view on this, and what is the change that you see this will bring for people, and what are the options that people will now think, because PF being a very safe haven kind of a proposal for people?
Yeah. Thanks, Ruchi. I think it's a very pertinent question, especially in a country where all employees and practically every citizen is required to save for their rainy days, okay, for their children's education, for their retirement, and in a society where the government welfare schemes, like in the developed economies, they're not available. Okay, hence we have been historically been an economy a country with high domestic savings and household savings.
Right.
Now, the EPF, okay, initially, has always been a very important component because 12% of your basic gets deducted, and employer also contributes an equal, amount, every month. Okay. Now, this historically has been, and till now, okay, has been a component which was tax-free. Okay. So the duration of your work life, okay, the entire time it was being saved, it attracted no tax. And more importantly, at the time when you withdrew, either you resigned early, okay, or you were retired, okay, the savings that accumulated over a period of time while one was working, they were also tax-free. And they were over a period of time, the rate of savings, okay, that was being generated was in excess of about 8.5%.
Right.
Okay, and this, given the current context of lower rates, lower yields, was still very, very attractive, given the fact that this was again guaranteed by the government, okay,
Right.
which is very important, part of this entire process. Now, this being taxed, okay, obviously throws up some complications, okay, for investors who had a fairly large part of their basic salary which was being tucked away every month, so without any worries of trying to invest in markets themselves or trying to think for themselves where they should be investing, okay, and getting tax-free returns. Now, as we go along, so investors, employees who for so long are used to this process now suddenly will have to contemplate which are the alternative options that they would have to consider now to save tax on these investments. So I think important part here is the safety, okay, and the financial planning around two or three very crucial parameters like safety of their capital, one. Second is the tax component that you mentioned, which is extremely important, okay, which of course makes this this proposition, okay, a little something which investors will have to revisit, okay. And number three also is the fact that how long are you going to be invested to generate these kind of returns, okay. So the time spent, okay, and not the timing, the time spent, okay, in the right
Deciding.
alternative, yes, that is something that will have to now be discussed and planned.
Ashwin, if you could just help our viewers understand that where did really the EPFO invest the money? What were the components so that it will help them decide in terms of if they have to shift or make a new decision, where and what kind of product should they look at?
Yes. Okay, it's important to understand because thus far this is one aspect that very seldom gets discussed in larger forums. Okay, so I will just quickly say here that even the EPFO, Employee Provident Fund, okay, and any pension, okay, or provident fund money that comes, either it is managed by the companies themselves, okay, that is also possible, or the companies outsource it to EPFO. Okay, in both these aspects, okay, it is governed by an investment pattern that the Ministry of Labor and Ministry of Finance have outlined.
Okay.
Okay, so there is category 1, category 2, and category 3 investment options that are available. But suffice to say here is the fact that all these the monies that were being managed by EPFO are actually actually invested, okay, in a combination of debt securities, and a very small portion goes into equity. Okay, so about 85% of the total corpus was being invested in government securities. These are bonds issued by the central government, okay, and the state government, and corporate bonds. So there's a combination of that is being pre-specified, and every single entity that manages this in lieu of employees' provident fund has to invest according to that pattern. That this should be invested primarily in debt securities. So when I say debt, it consists of both government securities and private sector bonds. Okay, and there are bonds issued by public financial institutions such as NABARD, SIDBI, which are again quasi government institutions. So now the only part where one would have to be would have to do the financial planning, okay, would be from the point of view that which of these alternative options that invest in these securities give you the benefit of taxation, and also allow you to spend time, okay, in these investment options over a period of time, because the only risk that you see in government securities, for example, is that of duration. And very naturally, now in the recent budget, the government has also proposed, okay, allowing retail investors to directly invest into government bonds. Okay, now the process of that will be outlined a little later. Okay, but the most convenient way, okay, to take exposure to these securities is through mutual funds.
Right.
Okay, and of course, mutual funds today give you options of investing from 1 day to possibly 20, 30 years.
Right.
Okay, so for this particular option, I think any mutual fund product today where the underlying is government securities and high grade AAA bonds issued by either blue chip corporates or public financial institutions should be the first priority. And secondly, products that are in schemes that are investing in long-term securities that allow the investor to save on a monthly basis or on lump sum, whatever he or she chooses, okay, to ride out any interim volatility over a period of time. So it will be very crucial that the investors, when they shortlist these options, okay, shortlist those schemes which are investing in long-term government bonds or debt securities. And good thing with the debt securities, especially in mutual funds, is that they give you twin benefits of long-term capital gain after 3 years of your investment and indexation benefit. So that becomes tax-wise also more lucrative.
And I think, as you said, since you're talking about the tax element, I think I'd like the viewers to know that in mutual fund, any long-term gains are taxed at a flat rate of 10%. Ashwin, I'd just like to know, because you talked about the volatility, and I think I was going to ask you the same thing, is that, as we go, because any of the person who is a PF investor moving on from that place and looking for an alternate objective will actually look forward for something for the next 5 years to 10 years is what I would normally see, right?
Yes.
So how do you see, because end of the day, what the person is looking for is the return that he gets. So
Yes.
how do you see the change, the interest rate volatility for the investor in that case?
See, interest rate volatility is something which is not new. Okay, it has existed, time
Yes.
immemorial. It is just that in the PF option, for example, okay, and the lack of awareness, where I mentioned that most of the investors won't even be aware where these monies were being invested. Hence, the interest rate risk was never something that one thought about. Okay, because it was again being subsidized or was being provided for by the
Guaranteed
government.
by the government.
So that is not going to happen anymore. Okay, from the point of view of taxation. So, the interest rate, okay, risk is borne by any security that is being issued, okay, either by the government or by the other issuers like private sector corporates or PFIs. Now, the longer the duration of the bond, okay, higher is the duration risk, especially for those investors who were to invest in a longer maturity bond for a short period of time.
Right.
Okay. Now that comes out of the fact that you could have a situation where the interest rates, if they are going up, okay, the price of that security falls. Okay. So in the shorter term, okay, when I say short term, it could be anywhere for 3 months, 6 months, 1 year, etc. If you have such a short term horizon, then investors will be well advised to invest in mutual fund schemes which have a shorter duration of 3 months or 6 months. So they are also available. Okay, ultra short term funds, liquid funds. But when you're looking at deploying or investing your monies for the longer term, okay, that is where you have to ride the interim volatility. And you say that if I'm coming into a fund like Nivesh Laksh, okay, that we have, okay, which is a fund typically invests in 25-year government security.
Okay.
Okay, and the duration of this scheme, okay, is reducing every passing year.
Got it.
Okay? So the investor who stays in this scheme, one, for the next, let's say 15 to 20 years, okay, would have mitigated that interim volatility rising out of interest rate changes, because over a period of time, interest rates will move up, they will stay static, and they will come down as well.
Right, got it.
Okay, so that is a continuous phenomena, okay, depending on the macro environment that exists. Okay, hence, investors would be advised, okay, to plan their investments very carefully and to invest in a product like Nivesh Laksh, which I feel, okay, is a fairly apt alternative to the PPF or VPF, okay, from the point of view of longevity that it provides you from the investment perspective, because it investing in a 25-year GSEC, and it invests in no other instrument.
Right. So since you mentioned about Nivesh Laksh, actually, and I know you mentioned that the major component is GSEC, right? So which means that it is kind of in the same pattern like how an EPFO would do the investment, and that's why that could be a fairly better bet to invest. So if you could just give me a trend, because this is an ongoing scheme, this is an open-ended scheme that you have. So how long has this been there, and what is the kind of trend you've seen in terms of the return for Nivesh Laksh? If you could just help our viewers know about it.
Yeah. So I'll just help you also explain how volatility can reduce if you stay longer. Okay, now there are two components to a bond. Okay, one is the coupon or the rate at which it is issued.
Right.
Okay, so for example, you have a 10-year GSEC, which is a benchmark GSEC, okay, which is currently issued, let's say, at 5.8%. Okay, now every bond, okay, be it issued by by the government or any other entity, okay, pays you back that coupon to the bondholder. Okay, so for a government bond, that coupon comes back to you every 6 months. So for a bondholder, that is one income. Okay, that is one part of the income. Okay, so that you would get any which ways, whether interest rates were moving up or they're moving down. Okay, so you will get your 5.8% if you were to buy a 10-year GSEC.
GSEC,
At
right.
the end of, you hold it for 10 years,
Hmm.
okay, you will continue to get those coupons, and whatever the interim volatility will not matter if you have not sold it. Okay, that
Agreed.
is one.
Right.
Number two is capital gain or capital loss.
Hmm.
Now, because of the fact that all capital market securities are traded,
Traded.
okay,
Right.
so if the interest rates were to go up, the price would fall. Hence, in the short term, if you were to sell a long-term bond, okay, then you may suffer either a capital loss or your capital gain will be very, very low. So basically, the price that you bought
Buy
at
it at.
and the price are you selling before it matures would be your capital gain or capital loss,
Capital
etc.
loss.
So that is another part of the income.
Right.
Okay. Now, how over a long period of time, your volatility goes down is that you getting your coupon every twice a year, every 6
6
months,
months.
right?
Right.
Now, in the case, Ruchi, if the yields are moving up, okay, your coupon that is getting back into the system
Hmm.
that you're getting from the issuer or from the government in this case is
Yes.
getting invested at a higher yield.
Right.
Okay, so once that starts happening, okay, over a period of 2 3 4 years, depending on what part of the yield cycle you are in, okay, your your accrual or income because of it being deployed at higher yield, okay,
Gets you
will
a better return.
overcome the capital, yes, will overcome the capital gain or capital loss phenomena. So after a period of 3 to 5 years, okay, if you were to do back of the hand calculation,
Hmm.
okay, your portfolio or investment will become immune to any mark to market impact. Whether interest were to go up or go
Or
down, okay, it will not impact your portfolio because for the duration of your investment in that particular bond, you will continue to receive those a coupon
coupon.
from the issuer. So
Right.
that's a very, very simple. That's the reason time spent becomes important.
Right. And I think you're right. And I think, which I think the viewers need to understand is this volatility capture or the yield reinvestment is something that you can get from a mutual fund and you may not be able to do at an individual level.
Yes.
So Ashwin, I think that's really nice. I think one another thing that I would like to know is because when you do a PF investment, you look one, you get a lump sum back, or
Yes.
you can do your withdrawals for a particular reason and all of those things. But I think mutual funds definitely offer you a good withdrawal option also. The systematic
Yes.
withdrawal plan. So, what
Yes.
is your thought for people who are looking for alternatives from this and look at SWP? Will that have a benefit or an impact, and how will that be for people?
No, absolutely. So again, we have done several calculations, and I'm sure somebody who wants to invest in funds such as these can consult their financial advisor or do so on their own, or reach out to us, however, whatever the case may be. But if you were to invest a lump sum, so
Mm.
what it has shown us is that over a period of 3 to 4 years, okay, you'll have to give it time. So after 3 years, okay, the investors can consider withdrawing, making monthly withdrawals,
Okay.
okay, out of the corpus invested over the first 3 years. Now that corpus can either be invested every month over the next 36 months, or you can do so on the first instance and wait for that corpus to grow,
Hmm.
okay, over the next 3 years. Okay. Now, what back of the hand, analysis has shown is that if you were to start withdrawing from the 37th month onwards every month, a certain percentage, okay, let's say 6 or 7%, okay, annualized, okay, you
Hmm.
can start withdrawing every month. Okay, you are actually only delving into the interest that you've accumulated over those 3 years.
Got it. So your
Okay,
principal
so
still remains. It's more of the interest that you earn on the principal is what you're really taking out.
yes. And what also it makes is after 3 years is whatever you would withdraw would be more tax efficient because it will, since you're withdrawing from your interest, okay, so you will not on the withdrawal money withdrawn every month, okay, it will also you'll only pay long-term capital gain, so you will not be paying short-term capital. So tax-wise also it becomes more efficient.
Okay, so that's nice, and I think it's really nice to understand about the Nippon India Nivesh Lakshya, and as the word suggests, it's investment for a particular target, for your Lakshya that you have in mind. So definitely, you're looking for long-term appreciation, and this is, I'm sure, what people should keep in mind. But what is that one? Objective that Nippon had when they kind of came up with this.
So, so last few years, okay, see, all of us have grown. You've spent 2 decades in the markets. I have spent 2 decades in the markets. And while we were growing up, we were used to a lot of schemes, okay, that's gave, either tax-free benefits to investors in the form of RBI tax-free bonds or post office schemes, where the interest earned one was tax-free over a period of time,
Hmm.
or and also the return or the coupon was guaranteed by the government. Now both of these facets are being phased out by the government, okay, gradually, because obviously it is having a large impact on their own balance sheet, on
Right.
their fiscal numbers. So I think will continue to this trend would continue, and this latest 2.5 lakh rupees of contribution bin tax is latest in that trend. And recently RBI floating rate bonds were launched for 7 years. They're also taxable.
There also.
Okay, so yeah, so I think it is not possible for the government to continue doing this going forward. So the one thought that we had was that we should launch a fund which is investing only in government securities, thereby eliminating any credit risk.
Hmm.
Okay, because this enjoys sovereign rating, so there's nothing
Right.
safer in the country than this. That is one. Number two, as I mentioned, this is a hold to maturity kind of a product. So here the fund manager is not taking any active call on the interest rates. Okay, vis-a-vis the normal debt funds that we are used to.
Hmm.
Okay, so this is a fund which will invest only in that particular government security of
Right.
25 years, and every year the duration of this
Reduce.
secure portfolio is reducing.
Right.
Okay, so vis-a-vis any other alternatives like tax-free bonds that were
Hmm.
launched into early 2010 2012. Okay, they came with a lock-in period. Okay, they were excellent investment options, but no longer is the government issuing those bonds. Okay, so our objective was to give a very simple product to an investor,
Hmm.
okay, where the investor can come in for the longer period of time and is able to garner market related but relatively stable returns if they had a long term investment horizon.
Objective.
Okay,
Okay.
so this is one of the simplest investment options that you would see in the market today.
Thanks. I think Ashwin, that's a real good discussion, understanding about what really it means for an investor or a employee moving on from his PF investment. What are the alternatives? And really, thanks to you for sharing a lot of insights, not only about your about the Nivesh Lakshya, but also about what is the market, how it changes, what's the volatility that people can experience, and what are the things. So, no, so thanks a lot. And really, as I said, it's always a pleasure to interact with you, and we look forward for such more interactions in future. We will bring to you such discussions, and it was a pleasure talking to Ashwin. So stay connected, and we will be back with you soon with some more programs like this.